One of the best things about the natural world is that nothing goes to waste. There are animals that feed on carcasses, detritus, and even dung, and this helps to keep the ecosystem in balance. Because very few things go to waste, you'll find many animals that feed on strange and even slightly disgusting things, but this is completely natural. At first, it may seem as though the animals are revolting for eating what they do, but really this behaviour helps to stop the spread of diseases, and it helps to recycle otherwise wasted nutrients. The first creatures we will be taking a look at spend most of their lives in the trees, and they are rarely seen on the ground. Sloths are a strange and distinctive group of mammals, and there are 7 species alive today. These mammals are split into 2 groups, the 3-toed sloths and the 2-toed sloths. Both of these groups live very similar lives to each other, and they are both found in Central and South America. These animals are mostly solitary and rarely interact with one another outside of the mating season. Their entire lives depend on them not being seen and their ability to blend into their environment, and thankfully they are very good at this. Fungi, algae, and moths live and grow in their fur, so spotting them in the canopies of Central and South America can be extremely difficult. Their main predators come in the form of harpy eagles, ocelots, and jaguars, and they are extremely vulnerable when on the forest floor. Sloths descend about once every 8 days to defecate on the ground, but sometimes they will stay on the ground in search of a rather disgusting meal. On several occasions, sloths have been witnessed eating human waste by scientists, and some of them have been known to crawl into toilets and gorge themselves on the contents. One of the most famous cases took place in 2011, and it was brought to light in 2019. The sloth was caught in a research station in Peru, and it soon fled after it was spotted. Even though this behaviour may seem disgusting, it's a good way for the sloth to get the nutrients that it needs, and there are quite a few animals that do similar things. Many animals are known to eat their own dung, and human dung is possibly one of the most nutritious in the animal kingdom. Despite this fact, it still seems pretty gross, and it seems as though the sloths are ashamed of it too. The African wolf is a canine native to North and Eastern Africa, and it's often confused for other species. As I covered in my deadly canine video, they were once classified as a variant of the golden jackal, but they are in fact distinct from this canine. They are closely related to both the grey wolf and the Ethiopian wolf, but their appearance can differ greatly across their range. The African wolf maxes out at around 20 kilograms, and this is relatively small when it comes to African predators. This means that they don't have the option to be too picky when it comes to what they eat, and they mostly feed on small mammals and birds. In certain times of the year, they are able to get a free meal, and they can get a meaty feast without killing an animal. During the wildebeest calving season, African wolves will feed almost exclusively on their afterbirth. This is the perfect example of nothing going to waste in the natural world, and the wildebeest are so abundant that the wolves can live off of this event. When you're a smaller predator in a competitive ecosystem, you need to be crafty and adaptable, and this small canine is making the most out of a yearly occurrence. Skuas are a group of large predatory seabirds, and there are 7 recognised species. These birds can be found all around the world, but I will mostly be focusing on the larger, heftier species in this video. Their diets and behaviours vary depending on the species and the area in which they are found, but across most of their range they are not very popular with other birds. It wouldn't exactly be unfair to call the skuas relatively lazy birds, as many of the larger species rarely make their own kills. They will hunt rodents, rabbits, and fish, but in most cases they prefer not to work for their food. Skuas regularly scavenge dead penguins and seals, and they have also been known to pilfer milk from unaware elephant seals. This is a very cheeky way to get a nutritious meal, but sometimes they resort to a more brutal method to get food. Skuas are infamous kleptoparasites, and this means that they steal the meals from other birds. When seabirds return from the ocean after working hard to catch fish, they are often met by skuas who harass and bully them into dropping their catch or even vomiting. For birds, vomiting isn't such a big deal as they vomit up meals for their young. By vomiting, they distract the skuas and stop them from harassing them, and the skuas are more than happy to get a gross fishy meal. Kleptoparasitism makes up around 95% of wintering skuas' diets, and this is one of the main reasons why they aren't popular with other birds. They are even known to bully birds 3 times their own weight, but not all birds give in so easily. Skuas themselves are known to forfeit their catches to larger birds such as giant petrels, and they are targeted by raptors such as golden eagles and white-tailed eagles. Eating other birds' vomit sounds like a very shameful thing to do, but the skuas really don't seem to care. Wallabies are an iconic group of mammals native to Australia and New Guinea, but they have been introduced into a few places outside of their native range. They belong to the same taxonomic family as kangaroos, and they are sometimes in the same genus. There are quite a few wallaby species alive today, and each of these species are adapted to a slightly different way of life. Unfortunately, quite a few species have disappeared over the years, and this is mostly due down to invasive species such as rabbits, cats, and foxes. Their diet varies depending on the species, but the majority of wallabies feed on grasses, vegetables, and leaves. In some areas in Australia, they are known to feed on something far more interesting, and this results in them getting very high indeed. As I covered in my series on animals that like to get drunk and high, some animals purposely seek out and feed on alcohol and drugs. Tasmania is the world's largest producer of illicit alkaloid material, supplying almost half of the world's demand. Because of the risk of these materials getting into the wrong hands, they are strictly controlled, but this doesn't stop the wallabies. Back in 2009, wallabies were witnessed entering poppy fields and consuming large amounts of poppies, and after they did so, they appeared to be as high as a kite. Many wallabies would return the next day to get their fix, and surprisingly, they weren't the only animals to feast on the poppy plants. Sheep have also been caught snacking on opium-filled poppies, and after they do so, they act very strangely. They appear to walk around in circles, and it looks as though they are having a great time. Today this behaviour is quite rare, and I'm sure there are some very grumpy wallabies that aren't able to get their poppy fix. Fortunately, not all of the stories in today's video are gross or repellent, as some can be quite cute and even beautiful. There are more than 160,000 species of butterfly alive today, and these creatures are among the most beautiful insects. They often bring a splash of colour to their environment, but they rarely interact with other animal species. One case where they are forced to do so is when they are in need of a certain mineral, and this mineral is salt. Like the vast majority of living organisms, butterflies need salt, and they get it in a very interesting way. Butterflies are known to drink the tears of reptiles, and they aren't picky which reptiles they drink from. Turtles are one of the common go-to reptiles, but they will also drink from caiman and crocodiles. This often leads to very beautiful scenes, and they are one of the few animals that can get away with drinking crocodile tears. There are plenty of other stories that could have made it into this video, so if you think you know of any, then let me know down in the comments below. But for now, thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.